Welcome to the Sounds of Encouragement, the place for creatives to find encouragement and support to help you stay motivated, creative, and inspired to use your craft to more fully impact your community. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you get notified of future episodes. If you find value in these podcasts, please share with friends or colleagues. To keep this production ad-free, please share your support at www.buymeacoffee.com/encouragement and share a one-time gift or check out the member levels. I'm your host, Melissa Slocum, and I thrive on encouraging other creatives through teaching music, small business coaching, podcasting, and so much more. Find out more at www.musicgrow.com and subscribe to be part of a growing creative community supporting one another. Don't forget to check out the links in the show notes. And remember, I'm here for you, so you can be there for those who need you the most. Enjoy the show. Michael Faire is a semi-active musician in North Georgia. A freelance collegiate trombonist turned music business professional, Michael now serves as the instruments sales and rentals manager at Big Note Music. Since joining Big Note in late 2022 and rejoining in mid-2023, Michael has been focused on growing an organically started retail and lesson studio. Now, on the second year of the studio and 2.5 years of retail, Michael assists the local community from beginning band members to the amateur guitarist. Michael also is learning instrument repair part-time as well, specializing in brass. An avid researcher still from their music history days, Michael also is the instrument research specialist for Big Note Music for sales and repairs. Prior to this, Michael worked with the Alpharetta Symphony Orchestra in a variety of artistic and logistical roles, and was Principal Bass Trombone from 2019 to 2023. Other organizations Michael played with were the Alpharetta City Band, Atlanta Philharmonic Orchestra, Atlanta Musicians Orchestra, and more. Please welcome my guest, Michael Faire. Welcome to Sounds of Encouragement. And you just heard a little bit about my guest, Michael Faire. Michael, thank you for joining me again for your second time around on this particular podcast. Thanks for your time today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me back. I'm really excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to get caught up. We have spoken, not just now and 3 years ago when we did the original interview, but we've gone out to dinner, we've spoken, we've had some interactions and things. So I am a wee bit updated on what's happening in life for you since we last talked. But give us a picture of where you are now and what your journey has been like. Last time on the interview, on the podcast, you were in music school at Reinhardt University and a bass trombonist and doing a lot of other really incredible work, composing, performing, doing so many wonderful things. But take us from that point in your career to where you are now. What's the update?
So in order to understand where I got from there to now, we'll start at where I am now and we'll work our way backwards. Now, these days, I am the retail instrument sales and rental manager at Big Note Music in Cartersville, Georgia. It's a small family business, but we have reach all over the state. We were founded in 2011 as a mobile repair company, and since 2022, 3-ish, we now have a storefront as well as a repair facility in Cartersville. So now it's nice having brick and mortar around. My boss recruited me actually away from the orchestra field, which was the very interesting thing to that. He recruited me just to help out in the winter, back in 22, actually, to just help run the retail space because I worked for Music and Arts for like 2 months way back when.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you have retail experience. You can sell things. And so I kind of worked my way up from I worked my way up from this seasonal part-timer to now being the retail manager, and it's been a fun, interesting journey the last year and a half or so with the company. But I greatly enjoy what I do. I'm also learning a little bit about instrument repair now these days, and I'm actually learning to be certified in brass repair. So
Wow.
going from having my own problems, obviously, and fixing them on the bass trombone, but being able to now fix the other brass instruments. So the rest of the trombone family, trumpets, baritones, euphoniums, tubas, I can now fumble my way around them enough.
That's incredible. Wow.
So, like I mentioned before, he pulled me away from orchestra world in the year back towards the end of 22. I ended up actually leaving Reinhardt before I finished graduating or finishing my studies to graduate. I just really struggled with this one math class. And after a third attempt, I just realized it wasn't worth it anymore. And so
Mm,
after consulting with the director of bands and my advisors and the dean and everyone like that, I just decided I'd rather work.
yeah.
I could, win a job at any time at the time I thought, and it was I would rather just try to figure out what I'm good at, and obviously not math skills, but figuring out management and spending time learning how to run personnel a little bit deeper, learning how to run concerts more efficiently and effectively, help with concert planning behind the scenes. And so I did that for a year in 2023. I just spent a lot of time learning how to run an orchestra, and it was really
Yeah.
exciting. And I think that's when we last sort of had our in-person
Yeah.
discussion, is when I was really kicking off with that. The issue with starting to heat up like that is sometimes you can burn, and you can
Mhm.
burn out pretty hard too.
Yeah.
And so I hit a really difficult wall in that the end of that year, and it was pretty devastating. A couple personal things happened. I got out of a relationship kind of in the span of the same week I was leaving
Mm.
the school, and everything I kind of did that composition wise and performance wise and all of this kind of was tied together in that. And so when the fire went out, it went out in a big explosion, and I had to kind of build my way back into it. And so trying to figure out was what I was doing with this orchestra as well. I mean, I enjoyed all the work, but all of a sudden my priorities were different. I didn't want to sit there in boring advisory meetings. I didn't want to sit there and listen to these people talk about how we need to not pay our musicians as much, which is a different story
Mm.
altogether.
Yes.
And it was a lot of, I don't want to be part of this bureaucracy. I'd rather try to help people in ways that are meaningful to me. And so towards the end of 23, I decided orchestra work wasn't for me anymore, and I stepped away from that.
Mm.
And again, like I said, my boss at Big Note, he pulled me away in the summer that time of 23. So he's like, "We're doing this retail thing full time now. If you want to help out with the rental season, I'd really appreciate it." And he kept me on after that, which was the really nice thing. So switching and transitioning from this orchestra management and learning how to manage 90 musicians and dealing with the artistic politics and everything like that, all of a sudden now I'm just kind of ringing up bags of reeds and mouthpieces and telling people about our rental prices.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big whiplash, but it gave me the headspace where I needed to be able to reprioritize some things. I was able, with two part-time job schedules, I was able to have more time to figure out what excited me outside of music, what I liked about music, and I found myself, I think that
Ah.
was the biggest thing, was I didn't need to eat and drink and live and bleed music 24/7. I needed to have a career within the music, and then I needed to have hobbies and a lifestyle outside of it that were not
Wow.
it with it at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
So it was a good lesson to learn.
we don't talk about this, I don't think, at all very much in music circles, professional music circles, whether it's professional musicians, or in other, adjacent occupations, and we really don't talk about it when it comes to going to music school. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because I guess my next question is, can you, from your experience in school, would you sort of care to spitball, like, what's the percentage, do you think, of burnout in reality versus what people think it is with music school students?
I would say in this day and age, any 20 something, mid 20 something musician, so grad school at this point and lower, I would say almost 40 to 50% deal with it in some capacity. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it's as spectacular as some, or as, or some people just have a bad week and it's the whole world to them in that week, but then they go on with their lives. Some people come, within terms of their entire sanity sometimes
Yeah.
because of it.
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it myself to a degree where it's like everything is all consuming that way. But I think the biggest thing that needs to be talked about is it doesn't need to consume you like that.
Yeah.
It's not the end all be all if you don't do your play your scales for 1 week in a row or something like that.
Yeah. We talked in our last interview about, the one of the questions that I always ask is how do you separate other people's expectations of you with other people's encouragement for you? And when you were going through that phase and considering, like, I may need to get out of school, I may need to do something else, did you feel a weight of expectation like you were letting people down? Or were you just sort of like, no, I know this is what I need to do for myself?
That was the biggest hurdle, I think. I
Mm.
had to get over that hurdle,
Yeah.
was getting over it was difficult. I felt like I owed people my time and my work and my knowledge.
Yeah.
And that was a big hindrance trying to leave the orchestra for a little bit there was I wanted it to be better and I knew I still had things to contribute, but I also knew I wasn't in a position where I could contribute anymore. I just didn't have the mindset that fit the group, and I didn't have the same priorities. And so, like, I felt bad about not being able to share my part of the vision, but at the same time, we didn't share the entire vision together. And so, once I realized that that was okay, with especially some encouragement now from my wonderful partner Maya, uh, the just learning that in order for me to be successful, I have to care about myself first
Yes.
and know that it's okay for me to be selfish from time to time and have being able to say no healthily, obviously, which as musicians, most of us are guilty of saying yes to every gig because
Yeah.
exposure is opportunity and opportunity is, money. And learning to say, I tried this, it was fun. I don't, I owe them a lot, but I don't owe them my sanity or my soul. And
Yeah.
it turned into, yeah, I think I want to give this other thing a try. So it was definitely a difficult hurdle to learn. It was definitely needed to learn. So it was good
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah. And it's, I think, harder to deal with when we're younger because especially when we're in school, we really do want to please our professors. We want to, please our colleagues, and we want to follow through. But I'm so I'm so excited and I'm so happy that you found a way to say my health, my mental health, and just who I am and my well being is more important than just pleasing other people and meeting some expectation that really doesn't align with my values anymore. Because that is that honestly, that takes a level of courage that most people don't understand, right? Because some people never have to go through that. And I think once you've gone through it, you're like, wow, that was rough.
I mean, I definitely have the maturity to say now too that I there were things I was fault for a lot of it too. Like I didn't know how to control some emotions and I didn't understand what I was feeling. And so, some things slipped through the cracks or I neglected things. And I knew I couldn't be the best that they needed too. That was the other big factor was
Mm,
it didn't my goals didn't align with them. And as much as I wanted to help, I realized towards the end I wasn't fit for the job anymore.
Yeah.
They wanted more and they couldn't give more. And so when I found out, I think it's I again now I still have love for the orchestra. Don't get me wrong, we just had some management issues. But when I found out my job got split into three permanent positions after I left, I'm like, yeah, see, it takes more than just one person to do this effectively. And
Yeah.
um, I think that was a lesson we all needed to learn, and it's okay, right? It's how it happens.
Yeah. Um, One of the things that I know for some people is true, but not every performer. Some performers, they take a break from performing for a while, or they take a break from their craft for a while, but that like itch to perform, that itch to compose, that itch, is still there. Do you still feel that? Do you still feel like, oh, I really like I need to get out and perform? Or is that sort of like that's not as big of an issue for you anymore? Because I know for me, that went away actually fairly
So
quickly.
I every so often wish I could play at that high level. Like, and I tried to come out for the Atlanta Ballet audition that happened at the end of last year. And I wasn't ready. The face wasn't ready for it, trying to undo a lot of stuff. Because like the last official gig I did, I think was Easter of 2024.
Mm,
And then that was it. I stopped playing for a good chunk of the year.
yeah.
And even then I wasn't actively practicing or anything.
Hmm.
Um, but to answer your question, I got a chance to play with a community band for a Christmas concert.
Ah,
That was fun. Pretty simple stuff, very classic. It definitely filled the need of like, oh, I can still do this. Like I can show up, a dress rehearsal, sight read the whole thing. Like the training paid off.
yeah.
The only issue is I actually had the flu that week and didn't
Oh,
realize it till the
jeez.
concert.
Oh, no.
So we're finishing up the concert and like we're like, let's go to dinner. And I'm like, okay, that'd be cool. Because my boss invited me to play with this group, and so it's fun. We go get Mexican, whatever. It's really nice. We
Oh,
have a good time.
no.
When I get home, I'm like, man, I really do not feel good. Like that.
Ah,
I take my temperature and it's like 101. Then I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
But it was a great concert. It was fun. I got to play a lot of Christmas tunes. I got to keep it was one performance of Sleigh
Yeah,
Ride, but that counter ticked up one more time, which was nice.
yeah.
But I think actually the biggest thing is I get to pass my knowledge on to this horn student that I have right now.
Ooh, okay. I was going to ask
Um,
you about that. Are you
one of the
still,
things I got to do.
yeah, do you still have a studio?
So I actually gave my studio in Johns Creek away to a much deserving euphonium player.
Okay.
He, I think, has turned it into this fantastic, hard-hitting group that I think most of them are now all-staters. Like two of them were already all-staters, but he also is using that studio space and that academy a lot more than I could have dreamed of because he lives down there. And so now, like, I know the church hosted his own studio recital in addition to the normal spring recital. I know he put on a charity concert with another mutual colleague of ours. And I think I think he formed a brass band down there actually,
Wow.
and they rehearse there now. So
Nice.
like that opened a lot of opportunities up for
Yeah.
him, and I'm glad my students there are getting what they needed to. But a big note, um, when I was still part time, I picked up a student and I kept them on after going full time and becoming a manager. But he's a senior at a school in Rome, Georgia. So he didn't have too many opportunities. And so he kind of came to me his junior year and he's like, I just missed out on All-State. I know I can do the thing. I just don't know how to get from point A to point B. And so now we are a little over a year later. He's made it into the symphony of the Georgia Youth Symphony Orchestra. And he
Awesome.
just went on this really big audition tour to some really cool music schools. And
Hmm.
for his privacy, I'm not going to list all of them,
Sure, sure.
but he got through some pretty big name schools he passed pre-screenings for. And then he had to learn a really hard lesson, which I was hoping wouldn't show his head, but it did, which was just because you get through pre-screens and all these professors like you doesn't mean you're going to win a spot. And so he has to actually come to school for music school. He has to do it here locally. He actually has to do in-state instead of
Sure.
winning one of these big music school spots. And we had a long conversation about how something similar happened to me when I was trying to get my dream school. And one spot was promised to three different people, and I was fourth on that list. And it turned out into this big thing. And so we talked about it. I'm like, look, you have to look at it like with the positives. Like, yes, it's sad that you got into some of these heavy hitting schools in New York and Indiana and all over the nation, and you obviously they wanted to hear you in person. They invited you up there, but it just wasn't in the moment. And I'm like, look, here's the other thing: is I'm a trombone player. I'm not a horn player, and I'm also not an active trombone player anymore. However, the school you're going to is a colleague of mine, the professor there, and she is really good at what she does. Plays a lot with the union groups in town, and then also went to music conservatories and has 2 degrees from that. And I'm like,
Sure.
if you really want to do this, she will help you escalate from that point from going to a
Exactly.
university music school in like a music department to going to
Yeah.
conservatory. I'm like, and honestly, you making that big jump might not have been it for you. And so you have to, we have to take what we learned from that. And if we have to use this resource instead for the next year or so, then we're going to do that. And so it's been extremely exciting, though, diving into some really, really difficult rep with him, going through a million horn excerpts, digging deep into these horn etude books. And it's challenging to me as well. Like, I haven't flexed that muscle in a little bit,
Yeah.
about 9, 10 months of worth of time. And so getting able to be like, no, like you have to think about this time period, or you have to think about, here's what the piano's doing underneath you, or here's what the orchestra's doing, being able to, again, where that training's paying off, and explain that our craft is art and not just notes on a page is the fun thing, where he can play really well, but he was playing without emotion for a long time, and that's why
Mm.
he wasn't winning anything. He was just playing everything correct and not be listened to with intent. And so it was a fun journey going through with him and explaining about how it's all art form. So it's still, I still get to flex those muscles just in unique ways these days.
And what a gift, I have to say, because you might be tempted to look back on your experience at Reinhardt and say, oh, um, maybe it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, or it would be understandable to maybe have some lingering feelings about it. But honestly, what a gift now that you have that you can share with other people and say, like, it doesn't have to be the end all be all. You don't have to do that thing that you think you want in order to have a great career and in order to have a great life and in order to pursue what you want to pursue. And you can say, sort of like, I'm living proof. I still have all this great stuff that I get to do, whether it's, managing a business, a retail business, working with instruments, working with people, working with teachers, working with, individual students. There's so much that you can contribute. And how amazing is that to be able to offer to just anybody that walks in the door? And, from one teacher to another, I have to say that student and any future students will be very, very lucky to have you as a teacher and advisor in their corner. So thank you for what you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to normalize like saying that to each other all the time because there are so many great teachers and so many great people in the music retail space, but they don't really get recognized. Do you know what I mean? Because it's almost like, well, if you're not playing on some big
Yeah,
stage, you're not worth anything.
yeah, that's it's important to, I think, a lot of, because we see a lot of juniors, seniors, that are like, we want to do music school. And we talk to them a lot about, well, here's the pros, here's the cons, and all of us have different backgrounds. We have music business, we have music education, we have performance, we have all of, I think, who the other one I think has public administration.
Mm.
So all of us have unique backgrounds where we all, performed at the high level and did all of that. But at the end of the day, we're all work in this music store, and it's really cool. The other thing that we talk about a lot, and this is a shameless plug, but the owner of the company also now has a repair school that's attached to
Ah,
the space we have.
right.
And so we teach instrument repair, which is also a different art altogether. And
Yes.
so that's the one thing that I like talking to parents about who are nervous about their kid wanting to go into music because they're like, well, if they don't win a job, then it's the end of their career. And it's like, no, there's a million things they can do other than perform for a living. If
Yeah.
it's arts administration in an orchestra, or if it's being a repair tech down the road, or if it's
Mhm.
being, the sales specialist at a music store,
Mhm.
everyone has the background to be able to do it. You just there not everyone's gonna there's not enough seats in the orchestra at the end of the day. There's not
Right.
enough seats in the military band. And so
Right.
someone else has got to do this, and you might find that you might be better at it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And it might give you the opportunity to pursue other things that you love being able to do. Speaking of which, you were doing some really epic composing when we were last together. And I would imagine, I'm just going to imagine here, that you don't have a whole lot of time for composing anymore. But are you still dabbling? Are you still doing some work in that area?
No, unfortunately, I
Yeah.
think the last person who actively talked to me about composing is actually someone you sent my way,
Oh,
Cam.
oh,
After that, though, I mean, I've talked a little bit about it with some friends and especially my partner, but really, if anything, all I do now, I try to arrange some things like
yeah.
in QuickTime where it's like, oh, this would be fun for me to play for the next 2 weeks, then I'll get bored of it or whatever.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things I've been doing now is I've been just trying to, I guess, that will keep that skill sharp. Is I've just been doing a lot of ear training and then improvising off of it whenever I get bored.
Oh, that's great.
Um, and I just listen to a lot of soundtracks, and I don't compose as much, but I still do a lot more listening.
Yeah.
And I've realized now, especially, that there's a lot of good composers and good musicians out there that have all these little niche specialties. If it's writing music for advertisements or if it's
Mhm.
writing music for documentaries or anything like that, it's just I love analyzing all of that and figuring out how they came from point A to point B. Some of it's a little tropey, and I understand that, and some I understand my jadedness is also from my teacher anyway at this point. So, so but those I don't do it enough, and I sometimes wish I had more time for it or I had the
Oh,
energy to
sure.
sit down and write stuff.
Yeah.
But I still love listening to other people's ideas and picking their brains about it if I ever get a chance to. Like, why did you think of this? How did you get to this? Or when Maya's in grad school, and so when she does analysis for her papers or anything, it's just fun listening alongside her. And
Sure.
I'm not the one being graded on the
Yeah.
analysis, but it's it's just nice going. She's like, "What do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I think it's silly because it's British." And she's like, "Yeah, but I can't put that academically." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "You're right. You have to figure that out." But it's still I still get to flex those muscles a lot more than especially than the playing, but um the I think not focusing on learning how to, or at least focusing on writing my own stuff, has allowed me to listen to a lot more variety of things.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, I have to say, right now in this moment, you just exude joy and contentment and happiness in a way that I haven't seen for a while. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that you have found this place for yourself and created this life for yourself. And, I hope that you never let anybody, say anything bad about where you are and what you're doing, because I can see just your face is just like light. And I love seeing that because the way you talk now and the way you share now about your experiences is so different. And I just love being able to kind of see the difference in people, from one point in life to another. And I know what that feels like too, to kind of overcome difficult times and to break through to find that place of like, I'm okay now and life is really good. And, like I'm back. Um, so I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the journey that you've been on. And do you like, what are your musical dreams now? What are your life and musical dreams? Where do those things sit for you?
These days, I'm really interested in instrument repair. I like the ability to be able to fix unique problems like that.
Mm.
I think, and there's not too much I can share about it now because the papers aren't signed yet.
Oh,
But if things go the way they look like they might be going, um, we might. I'm definitely going to do something a lot more with the repair side of our business moving forward, which I'm super excited for. Um, just I like the ability to solve unique problems. My mom asked
yeah.
me a couple of weeks ago, she's like, Michael, what do you want to do? And I
Mhm.
looked at her and I'm like, some form of customer service, because like the only answer I can give you is I want to solve a unique problem for someone every day. And
Yeah.
I don't know how to really do that.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, the universe kind of over the next 2 weeks was like, why don't you just get better at repair? And then it turned into, why don't you just repair instruments? Because that is a unique problem. And then the next day, someone came in and it's like, I need this chem cleaned and these dents taken out by tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, I got time. And I did all of that. And I turned it around and they're like, awesome. And so
Wow.
just I like being able to do that where it's like I made the mistake of dropping this, or this just happens, or anything like that, or
Right.
this just needs to be cleaned. It's fun. It's a very patient process.
Yeah.
Dent work is a very patient process. Lapping valves, a very patient process. A lot of it is just how much of this repetitive thing can you do before it drives you insane. Uh, but I think being asked those questions now by the universe and figuring out how to answer them is nice. Instead of just saying I don't know or running away from them,
Yeah.
it's giving my best shot and accepting the fact that I might be wrong. I might make mistakes. I have certainly torched the wrong thing off of an instrument already. I certainly have dropped valves and broke them and had my brother bail me out of them and fix them for me. But that's how you learn. And
Yeah.
I think being asked those questions and learning how to patiently answer them was the big appeal to brass repair. Woodwind repair is a little different. There's way too
Hmm.
many key systems, and I don't have the patience for that.
Speaking as one who played clarinet and totally understands that, whew, just the pad replacements alone are ridiculous. So,
Oh goodness, that takes I think anywhere between 5 to 8 hours of actual labor time,
yeah,
depending on how skilled your technician is, and it's
yeah,
insane. And
yeah.
I'd rather not. Mm-mm.
Good for you. So, one of the questions I always like to ask as well is about encouragement for other people. And, we're having this conversation in April of 2025. There's a lot happening around the world. And in some ways, some people have said this feels very similar to COVID lockdowns. Just the economy is a little bit wild right now. There's a lot of funding cuts for the arts that we've seen all across the board, not only in public schools and private schools, but in big national places as well. We won't name names. But there is also some amount of fear. There are people like me who have independent studios who are concerned about some of my clients losing their jobs and not being able to afford lessons anymore. People maybe not being able to afford instruments. And so I think we're at a time where there's a lot of uncertainty. There's some economic fear. And there are some musicians, teachers, business owners, studio owners who might be struggling and who might be wondering, like, gosh, is it time to stop and just get out and do something else? Or what do I do? And questioning life choices or career choices. What encouragement would you have for people right now in any type of music industry? Is there anything that you would like to offer up?
I would like to say two things actually. Is one, the more important one, is the arts have never died. They've been suppressed, they've been oppressed,
Yeah.
they've been eliminated by several higher organizations, but they've always have persisted.
Yeah.
It's always been since humanity has kind of been around. We've always have used it as it's just culture. It's human culture. It's social culture.
Hmm.
I think even outside of all of the socioeconomic side of things, on the other side, some of our livelihoods threatened with the threat of learning models and AI and everything like that as well. And so the same thing applies there. Is it comes down to the human experience, and as long as we continue to exist and experience, we're going to still create art. It might not be our livelihood, which is leads me to my second point, which is make sure your skills are transferable.
Yes.
Um, it's an unfortunate thing, when we have to close up shop or when we have to step away from what we love as our career. But again, the arts don't die. This too shall pass,
Yeah.
obviously, no matter how you slice it. And it might take a while. I mean, I hope we don't want this to be the Dark Ages, obviously, and that's not any type of speculation from me. I'm being more dramatic than anything. But even with medieval Europe going through roughly 600, 700 years of music oppression, still Offenbach and Pergolesi and Scarlatti,
Right.
all of them, we know their names because they just were patient
Yeah.
and continued to make art as they pleased, and it still exists, and it just set the foundation for what we're doing now. Musicians, for the most part, are always progressives, and we will always find a way.
What an amazing encouragement for those who are watching or listening, because I think unless you're in this industry, it's very hard to hear. Maybe I should rephrase that. To hear that from someone who's not in this industry seems very Pollyannish, but to hear from
Yes,
people who are in the industry who know, it is very encouraging. And I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think a lot of times as creatives, when one thing, like one door seems to close, we're not quite sure, and we maybe aren't always prepared for that. And I like to tell the people that I work with, especially in business coaching, small business coaching, and things with the creatives that I work with, I like to talk about like emergency preparedness, not just for your home, but also for your business. And how can those skills be transferable? How can you pivot? And, what if we lost internet? How would you like it was different during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we all had to go online because we couldn't be in person. Well, what if the opposite happened? Would you be prepared, to take cash money? Would you be prepared to not have, you know, some of the same systems in place? And, I'm not trying to say that you need to be prepared like a doomsday prepper and be prepared for all scenarios, but I think it's important for creatives also to think about, what would I do if something happened that really did affect my ability to provide for myself and my family? And how could I make different transitions and make different moves, but still use the skills that I have? So I so appreciate your encouragement, because it comes from a place, I believe, of already having done that. You've been there, done that. And also from a place of saying, well, this isn't just like out of necessity. This is also just good, something good to be able to do no matter what in your life.
that's pretty much, I think, what it boils down to, right? Is um, if, say, my company, which is not on the verge of collapse or anything like that, but if, say, because the school's losing funding, we lose the client money and everything. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to have a cascading effect. But if that truly came down to the point where it's my boss came to me and he's like, I have to let you go, like here, we just can't afford to keep, you here or anything like that. Then I can work as a manager of some type somewhere else while I try to figure it out from there because I would,
Yeah.
excuse I mean, I would have management skills under my belt, and I would also have, just general repair skills under my belt. So I could also,
Right.
if I wanted to pivot that way or anything like that. Um, it's about the adaptability, right? And especially as musicians, we have to be adaptable. Classical musicians are a little weird about that because of their issues with jazz, but being able to be adaptable is, I
Yeah.
think, the biggest thing. And I learned that really hard over the last couple of years, which I thought I was going to be an associate conductor and a nationally known composer.
Yeah.
After two semi-finalist runs and this and that and these commissions, and now here I am running a music store.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting with the ASO like I thought I would be. I'm
Yeah.
not sitting with the San Antonio Opera or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very different. My career is a lot different than I would imagine it to have been. The lessons I learned, some of them were not by choice,
Yeah.
but I still woke up every day. I still saw that the sun came out, and I still, figured out something to do. And I think you have to, even if you have to boil it down to those as small as you need to wins in order to handle this kind of uncertainty over the next however this long period it will be, then do that, right? You have to just keep building with momentum. Um, One of my favorite, my new obsession these days is golf, hilariously. But one of my favorite golfers talks a lot about momentum and how it's a spiral where if you're moving forward and everything feels good going upward, it's gonna feel good. But if you let it slip, you can't let it consume you. You can't let it
Mhm.
just drag you down. You have to hold the line. That's how momentum works. You can't let it fall. Right, that right.
Right.
And so it's a lot about being adaptable, right? You have to be able to do something. And if you can't do that something, then move on to the next thing and celebrate the fact that you tried. So it's all about those small wins and they add up.
Such great advice. And again, I think great advice because it is lived experience and hard won in some cases. But I think that is oftentimes the best, the best advice is it comes from well lived experience. So I appreciate that. And, for those who are watching or listening, I think the other great thing about creatives is that we're also all very supportive of one another. And I keep saying, I have a friend of mine who we did a little collaboration together, and in the last group that we worked with, she said, "Do you have anything else to share with everybody today, Melissa?" And I was like, "Community, community, community." This
Mhm.
is the time when we all have to be supporting one another. We have to be willing to be vulnerable and share the tough stuff. We have to be willing to reach out and say, I need help. Or we have to reach out and say, hey, I can help if anybody needs help. And, more than ever, I think one of the other things that helps us get through these times, like uncertainty, high uncertainty, like now, is also just being connected and reaching out and building community or relying on the community that we have. So great advice. Uh, I asked you to put together another top 5 songs of encouragement list. You had a great group of music to share last time. And this is equally fun. And this music is just so, so amazing. So we're going to flip over here to 5 different songs of encouragement that you've selected for us to listen to today. And the first one, I had so much fun listening to this whole track. And this is by Baz. This is his single Run It Up. I had not heard this particular single before. I had heard of Baz, but not this single. So we're going to listen to just a 10-second clip and then I'll let you talk about it on the back end. Here we go.
Stop me. Run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up. Nothing can stop me. Run it up, run it up, run it up, run it up.
Oh, I hate to stop that because, like, once you get in the groove of that, you're just like, yeah, I'm going.
It's an excellent groove. I think it goes back to the momentum thing. So you've heard of Bass.
Oh, yeah.
I have not heard of Bass.
Ah!
So actually, this is really funny. The only time I've actually heard this particular song was in a documentary, which I think I mentioned to you
Hmm.
in the email. But so I think I already mentioned this. This is gonna be a fun tangent. My new obsession is golf, and I like it a lot because it reminds me of the performance aspect in the way of the only one who can put in the time is me.
Hmm.
And in order to get better at such a disciplined sport is to be disciplined about it and, just continue to practice. And a lot of the professional musicians came over and helped with that. And actually the coach I was taking lessons from was like, man, I need to get more professional musicians in here because he was also teaching another friend and former bandmate of mine lessons as well. And he's like, you guys just do what you do.
Yeah.
I tell you to do it, and then you do it. You come back, and it's like, look, I did it. I practiced.
Hmm.
Anyway, so this song, um, I heard it in this documentary about some PGA Tour professionals, or I guess just golf professionals, because not all of them were tour members. And this was in the episode called "Go Big or Go Home" in the first season of
Mm.
Full Swing. And it follows, at the time, four-time major champion Brooks Koepka as he goes through this massive mental slump. And my dad always makes this fun joke about professional golf where he's like, I can only feel so bad for a guy who makes millions playing golf. But at the same time, he makes a good point about the momentum and mentality in his interviews, and as they follow him for like 8 or 9 months, he's like, when you feel like you have it, it's the best thing in the world, and when you don't, you would give anything to get it back,
Yeah.
right? And we all go through that as musicians too, where we
Yeah.
go through seasons of success and then we have to scrap and struggle. And so Kepka was going through a lot of like, I want to play really well, but after a shattered knee and a broken tendon in my wrist, and he's like, I'm just trying to reclimb this mountain. And finally, about a year and a half later, after defecting from the PGA Tour and everything like that, which was a whole big deal, globally at least, he ascends the mountain at Oak Hill in New York, in Rochester, and wins the PGA Championship for the third time, which brought him to five majors total, one more than the ever present Rory McIlroy, who's one of the
Hmm.
greatest golfers of our generation. And so that was a big thing. And a lot of people, the broadcasters, talk about momentum he has. He's like, you always make this one momentum putt, and that's it. And that's exactly where that song cues up in the thing. And
Oh,
I'm like, that's kind of cool. I like this
yeah.
song. I really like how it plays when he won in Orlando, and it played again when he was leading the Masters and those clips. And I'm like, I like this. It's a really nice jam. And
Wow.
it was really funny too because he's like, me and my boys make major moves, and he's walking up to take the major trophy.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of play on the timing and everything. But I love that song because it's a groove. It
Hmm.
talks a lot about like relentlessness and how you can't let up. And it talks a lot about how it's a good power song, I think, is the cool thing
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
It's a groove. You said that word, now I'm stuck on it. um, it just, again, it's momentum, right? It just, once you get started, it's great. I will end every single one of my workouts with a power this. You take a medicine ball and I just
Mm.
slam it down as hard as I can, and then try to jump afterwards. Just it's a double explosive exercise, but I do it the entire length of that song, and
Wow.
it's such a good, like, this is it, this is everything I have, I'm putting it all out on the field, and that's that, right? Or
Yeah.
like in concert hall, I'm putting it everything out there on the stage, and that's that. And that's what I love about that song, is it's just so, it's relentless, it's unyielding, it's momentum, it's, I have arrived.
Yeah. Yeah. Fearless. Yeah. Such a great song. Go listen to the whole thing because if you need some energy, that song will give it to you. Let me just say, that was a great listen. So if you haven't heard it, go listen to the whole thing. I really do think anybody who even walks for exercise, that would also be a great song. Just if whether you're a runner or a walker or a power lifter or whatever you do, or cardio, that's a great song to have going at some point during the workout, beginning and middle, the whole time. I mean, it's just such a great
Yeah,
vibe. All
nothing
right.
can stop you.
That's
That's what
right.
it is.
That's right. So we're going to take a little bit of a hard left turn and we're going to check out a little bit of the Sibelius Symphony Number 2 in D major, Opus 43. This is movement 4, the finale. And this is the Oslo Philharmonic. I'm not going to try to pronounce that particular conductor's name because I would have to brush up, I think, on on my other languages here. And so we're going to pick this up at 11:55 in, but go listen to the whole work. The link is in the show notes, and we're just going to listen to a 10-second clip here as the brass kind of brings us to a very climactic point. So here we go. Oh, I hate to stop it. Go listen to the rest. Go listen to the whole thing.
Oh,
It's amazing.
so
Yeah.
So, hilariously, his name's actually much easier than you think.
Okay. Educate me then.
It is just Klaus Michaela, or I think
Oh,
it's like Makala or something if you
okay.
really want to get dramatic on it. But
Okay.
it's pretty like anglicized. It's just Klaus Michaela.
Okay.
He's really cool. I would also suggest looking him up. A lot of people have mixed feelings on him because he's kind of this wunderkind type thing where he's accepting every opportunity he can, and he'll probably have his a pretty hard career moment, I would say, in the next 6 years or so. But Klaus Michaela is actually he's 29, I think now.
Wow.
Um, yeah, he's chief conductor with Oslo. He just accepted to be like the future conductor for the RCO, the Royal Concertgebouw, and somewhere else too. I can't remember. But he's got a bunch of appointments. I think it's Chicago, maybe.
Wow.
Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. he he's got a lot of like pending appointments, and he's really cool, and he's very much he's a Sibelius and just romantic, like mid and late romantic expert. He's very good at that, and so he actually did the entire Sibelius symphony cycle with Oslo, which is really nice.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
that movement in that symphony, though, I think is it's it's very repetitive, but it just constantly builds. It keeps building on itself.
Mm-hmm.
The I think the low woodwinds start with that theme at first
Mm-hmm.
with the flutes, and it just kind of snowballs. And it just snowballs and it snowballs. You don't even realize that the fourth movement started because it's an attacca from the third movement.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a minute to understand that. I saw the Augusta Symphony play this in December of 22, I think. I made a 1 day trip down there. I went there, I saw an 8 p.m. concert and drove all the way back.
Oh my word.
But it's such a just relentless symphony. Sibelius was going through an interesting time period where he had some doubts about his composition and musical career, but he ended up coming through this little bit of a dark time. So this very much was a lot of like Finnish nationalism, it's Finnish success
Mm-hmm.
story, and I think it's just an overall success story where he just he lets it snowball into this big momentous thing, and that very big chord at the end is a major chord when the rest of it's minor leading
Yeah.
into that moment. I think it's a really cool tone color change.
Yeah.
um Again, I guess I'm just attracted to like momentum music at this point. But it's a really cool symphony. It was really nice to see live. I love it. Made me discover the world of Sibelius a little bit more. I knew a few things about him. I knew Finlandia because I was a trombonist.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've performed the Valse Triste which is from
Sure.
a ballet, or no, I think it's incidental music from a play his brother put on called Kualema. But his symphonies, the symphonic works are really well written, and
Hmm.
it's a different sound than I think a lot of people are used to because it's Germanic, but Western it's not Western Europe, but
Hmm.
it's also not true Germanic. It's not
Right. Right.
it kind of gets wide. It gets pretty stacked with fourths and fifths. It's not Wagner, but it's also not Mozart. It's
Yeah.
somewhere in between, and it's really cool. I think it's a if people don't listen to Sibelius after this, I'll be very sad.
Yeah, that's so well put the way you describe Sibelius because I was trying to think too, like how I would describe it, and I wouldn't have done it quite the same way. And I think what you shared is brilliant. And not only is that particular symphony really incredible, um, but I think the more you start to listen to Sibelius, and I'm a fan, I will admit,
Really,
and I have been for a long time, since high school, really. And the more you listen, the more I think it does. His work really stands out for me, but not because of any one thing. It's not like there's one signature to everything. There are so many incredible things happening. And the pieces are varied and diverse for me anyway. I know some people don't feel that way, but for me they're varied and diverse, and have a lot of just so many great things happening. And so I really appreciate the way you describe that. And so go listen to the whole track, the whole 14 minutes, because it was so wonderful because I was listening as I was drinking coffee this morning, and it starts off very almost ambient, and it brought me to, especially this morning, it brought me to a place of just like, wow, not only am I awake, but I am joyful, I am fulfilled, I'm uplifted, I'm supported. And I was like, wow, I know why you chose this, because this is really, this particular movement was really, really amazing. So I appreciate you sharing that. Listen to if you're watching this or listening to this, please go listen to that whole 14 minutes. It will change your life. It will change your life for today.
or just listen to the whole symphony. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful
Definitely,
experience.
definitely, definitely. All right. So we're going to make another hard left turn. And this next song is a whole different fun vibe. This is Rebecca Sugar, Time Adventure. And we're just going to listen to a 10-second clip here right at the beginning. Listen to the lyrics, and you'll see pop up on the screen. Here we go.
Time is an illusion that helps things make sense. So we're always living in the present tense. It seems unforgiving.
Oh, I have to stop it, but go listen to the whole song, and the lyrics are really wonderful. Talk about this one.
Oh, so Rebecca Sugar is most famous, I believe, for Steven Universe, which is a lot of people's like just I think either awakening show or just it holds a lot of it just is a very special place in a lot of people's hearts for how imaginative and how many stories she was able to tell in that
Mm,
series. But she also did an incredible amount of work with Adventure Time, which was another great kids show. But I think the main difference, or not even the main difference between the two, I think they both did this very long. Adventure Time just had the longevity to pull it off, I
sure.
think, was the fact that the messages kind of grew up with the audience. And so Time Adventure is spoilers for even though it's been out since like 2019 or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But this it's played in the final episode. And the final episode is called Come Along With Me, which it's a lot of like everything that has to happen is going to happen. This big war breaks out and everything, blah blah blah. And then it all gets put back together because it's a kid show. But in I think the moment where everyone's the weakest, the computer video game toy, BMO, that character, kind of realizes that the way to defeat the enemy of who was like the Lord of Discord was with harmony. And so BMO starts singing this song, and it's very, very nostalgic as it takes it back through so many memories. And it talks a lot about how things might be chaotic and things might be crazy, but if you slow everything down, then you can take everything one thing at a time, and it's all going to be okay in the end. And I love the very last lyric that changes the chorus for the
Mhm.
better, where it's I think the whole chorus is like um what is it?
Let
Hold
me see if I
on.
can pull it
um,
up.
yeah, let's see.
Because you and I will always be back then. Because you and I will
Yes,
always be back then. Because you and I will always be back then. That's why you and I will always be best friends.
I think that part right there, if none the rest of it isn't a tearjerker, that's what it is. That's what gets me most times I listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it just reminds you that no matter what or who or how different your life might look, at the end of the day, if you look back and look fondly back, then that's the whole point. I think I treat it more as I'm talking to my inner self, and it's
Mm,
like, look at everything we've gone through. Like, it's some of it's I know people should have gone to, some of it's super commonplace, but
yeah.
it's at the end of the day, I'll always have myself, and it's always important to remember that and remember where I've come from, remember my experiences, positive and negative, and just continue to grow and learn from them, right? And so at the end of the day, and I always the person who I've the will always be best friends has changed, obviously,
Mhm.
for anyone, but for
Right.
me personally, and that's why I think coming back to reminding myself that it's going to be okay. It's being it's difficult to sustain such an intensity for so long, and learning to step away from that, simplify things. um if I could stop time and take a look at all our moments and all of that, it's nice. It's a good reflective song.
It is. And as we're talking, I'm gonna interject a little bit here because I just got back from visiting my adult child who's living all by herself and doing really well and carving out a life. And we had tried to connect to do Doctor Who episodes, and it just hadn't happened yet. And so while I was visiting, we decided, oh, let's sit and watch Doctor Who episodes. And so we started with the newest season. And I'm just going to put in a plug for there is an episode, I want to say it's like number 3 or number 5 or something in the newest season of Doctor Who, which if you're a Doctor Who fan, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not, don't worry about it. But the particular episode I'm talking about, do you know Doctor Who? Have you been watching this current season?
uh, the algorithm has forced my hand to witness so
Oh,
much of it. I
okay.
am so close because I talked to your adult child maybe 2 months ago,
Okay.
and I'm like, I am this close to
Yeah.
once I'm happy with my current training and obsession, and I find I give myself a little bit more time, I'll probably start watching this series.
Okay, so there's two really cool things about the particular episode that we watched because that she knew I would be all in if I saw this particular episode. Number one, the issue is in this particular episode, music is the storyline.
Ooh.
Yes. So the whole episode is about music and its impact throughout history and culture. And it's just like, it's so well done. So well done. And Jinx Monsoon, who is a famous drag queen, was on RuPaul's Drag Race. And Jinx plays the role of music. And
Oh.
it's just an incredible performance. And so Jinx is one of my favorites, actually. And so to see Jinx performing on the Doctor Who episode, I was like, oh man, yeah, this just really does it for me. But Doctor Who also plays with that idea of time and dimension and space. And I love that lyric of time is an illusion. But at the same time, in Doctor Who episodes as well, there's that essence of connection that defies time and that defies any
Mhm.
single time period. And I love that they wove music into that as well. So yeah, it was a wonderful song to listen to with Time Adventures, or the Time Adventure song with Rebecca Sugar here. But it also was like, wow, if you also want to take a dive into Doctor Who in that particular episode, you'll find it on the newest season. So a lot of great parallels that are happening.
I'm just a big fan of that trope, I think, of like timelines being touched or like people reaching across time to have that kind of connection. Like Avatar, The Last Airbender had the whole reincarnation thing, right? Where it's
Mhm.
like my story is now your story and you're gonna meet people from your past to my present and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Doctor Who does a great time with what's that character's name? River Song, right? Where she's backwards the whole time and he's forward or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
actually know. I'm looking at the algorithm showing me clips of
Yeah.
all of this, but I know I still love that trope of like it. No matter some connections are strong enough to last. This is I think after some friendships are strong enough to last more than one lifetime, but like just some connections can get passed through any kind of barrier, including time, which is I think is just a really cool trope.
And to me, having the power of music woven into that is also so very special and so incredible because I know from my life experience, there are friendships I have made because of music and because of the music world that I operate and function in, that because we share that musical understanding, that commonality of the world that we express ourselves in and that we find a lot of passion around, those friendships, I feel like are also just sort of, they'll always continue no matter what because we have this connection because of music. And the like I have a lot of great friends, who are not musicians and not at all in the music world. But honestly, there is something just almost sacred and special about the friends and the friendships that I have that have come from that world of music and performing and creativity and expression. So, I know that sounds kind of like cheesy, but I feel like that's what has been my experience.
I think it's just the vulnerability, right? Because
Mm,
people ask me too, they're like, why are you closer with your band friends or why are you closer with, these people? I mean, a lot of the people I see on a week to week basis or anything like that, I've met in some capacity from the music and anything I've done. And I think just like you said, it's our shared connection, viewpoints,
yeah.
and it's the vulnerability. The creatives think similarly. Not all of us have not everyone's super progressive or even super conservative with how they feel on all sorts of viewpoints, but we all kind of realize that the art form is a great medium to express ourselves, and it's sometimes the only way we can express ourselves, and sometimes we can, actually have conversations about things as well. But it's all about the ability to let yourself be emotionally vulnerable, I think, to that
Yeah.
level and being able to present it. Because if you like with visual art, right, you can bare your soul and everything, but you don't have to be there for the reveal. You don't have to
Mhm.
do anything about it. We have to perform that.
Yeah.
We have to lead it and have someone else listen to it. Um, and we can't rely on words as much,
Right.
lyrics, but we can't rely on words as much. We can't rely on even the visual as much. It's an experience I think this is more biased and cheesy on my side, but I think it's a little bit more of a meaningful experience when it comes
Mm,
to the level of vulnerability and
yeah.
what we how we consume it.
Yeah, and
So
there are
that's just my
people.
opinion.
No, I totally agree, and I think there are people who also like. There's music out there that I don't really care for, but I still respect the work. Like even though,
Mhm.
like for example, Baz is not on my playlist, but I respect the work. Holy cow, And there's other artists too that I'm like, oh, I don't care so much for that or this, but I respect the work. So there's that. I think that plays into it too. That we can disagree but like we all are going to have a lot of mutual respect for one another because we understand what it means to have that level of creativity and that level of vulnerability like you said.
Yeah.
We're going to take another little detour here and listen to this next clip. This was so much fun. Uh, I'll let you
That's a
talk
good one.
about this one afterward. This is called Clouds from a band called Curios. And I think the album here is called Cabinet of Curiosities. And you'll see Cirque du Soleil here. I'm going to let you talk about this afterward, but let's just first play this clip before we talk about its relationship with Cirque. Oh my gosh, go listen to the whole track. It's so fun. Talk about this one.
So that is from the soundtrack, the official soundtrack of the show that Cirque du Soleil put on called Cabinet de Curiosité. It's Quebec French, so it's even a little bit less French, and it's
Yeah.
very it's a really cool show. It's steampunk themed with a lot
Mhm.
of a lot of respect and nods to the metaphysical of time travel and being able to fly and magic and all of these cool things. And honestly, I listen to the whole soundtrack a lot typically, like if I'm doing pretty much anything or car rides or if I'm washing dishes, it's just a fun soundtrack to listen to. But I got to see that show. When were they here? They were in Atlanta, I think 2015. It's been 10 years
Wow.
since they came back to a couple years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago. I think they cycle every 8 years, is what the
Hmm.
Cirque thing is. But around that time, um, I there's a couple of different connections I have with Cirque actually with this, but we'll hit all of them in different moments here. So I saw that show. I was fascinated by it because, first of all, circus performers, even modern circus performers, are incredible.
Yeah.
They're incredible human feats, and what they put their bodies through
Mhm.
to train and be able to do that is insane. Um, the notable ones from there, they had a world-class handstand artist who was the aviator character. They had a world-class singer, a Greek nationalist named Irene Toranaki or something like
Mhm.
that. She's the voice on that whole album. And that's her character too, is like a phonograph head type deal that sings while the show's going on. It's a really cool thing. Circus music's also really hard to play, which is had admiration to the musicians too, and then the fact that the musicians were part of like the characters. Um, and I guess the other highlight is they had the Guinness World Record like yo-yo specialist
Oh my.
or something like that. I don't
Wow.
think he's with them. It was a limited time run, but like I know he was with the Atlanta show. I know he was only there for like a 4 month contract or something.
Wow.
But it was just a fascinating like hodgepodge of characters and such. But that show, that particular one, Clouds, is this trampoline act where a bunch of these fish people kind of get on this stage long trampoline, like this wire trampoline, hydraulic trampoline, I think, actually. And
Ugh.
they start jumping 20, 30, 40, 50, up to 80 feet, reaching for these clouds and
Wow.
hang on and do tricks and build chains and then all fall down.
Mm.
And so it was just really fascinating, obviously, because like that was such a cool feat to see, these literal gymnasts and acrobats doing some really cool stuff. Like, you don't think typically like a trampoline routine to see how high you can jump up,
Yeah.
like and like that. It was a really interesting take. And again, they're all like the whole point is the scientist is like seeing different worlds and everything, and this is one. But it's so energetic. It's really cool. There's a lot of throughout the whole track. There's a lot of like Quebec French interjections and such,
Hmm.
and it's again and it's steampunk style. It
Yeah.
sounds very much like radio show. It's just a really cool, for lack of a better description, it's a really good bop.
It is. It reminded me actually of cabaret type music. And I was like, ooh, vaudeville, cabaret. Ooh, I just want to dance now. And I want to like have a top hat and a cane and I just want to go. It's just so, so fun to
Very
listen
much.
to. It's like a carnival for the ears, really.
Exactly. I think they did a great job with it. I knew someone who ended up getting a job with a different Cirque show who had to do something similar. He was a
Mm.
cello player and a singer, and so she ended up getting a different Cirque show. But yeah, like she was talking about the creative process behind that one as well. And she's like, this is just so like musical. And it's like not in the sense of the fact that, there's a lot of singing involved and it's not like everyone's narrating the thing, but it's operatic in the way it's a soundtrack. It's musical in the way on how it interacts with the show. It's very well written. It's
Hmm.
got a lot of pop elements. It's got a lot of stuff from the 1920s.
Hmm.
It's very much a timeless blend of a lot of different, I think, common trends and like different flavors. Like the track before it is electric guitar and bass and
Oh, okay.
I think the trumpets. The track after it is a theremin.
Oh,
So it's
yes.
it's a really interesting blend. The entire soundtrack is, but that one in particular is really cool to me. Um, yeah, the following track is the Siamese, the creature du Siam, which is actually what I call my cat
Ah.
sometimes because she's Siamese. But yeah, it's such a extremely well composed, just different blends of different eras all put together into one big showcase. And I think that's the really cool thing about this track. That one in particular, super
Yeah.
energetic.
Yeah.
It gets me going. It's a good way. It's good traveling music for me. It's good. I gotta do the dishes music. It's
Yeah.
good. I gotta clean up around. I like having that kind of stuff go because it's not.
Yeah.
I don't. Not to disparage on modern pop music, but that just gets me going a little bit better than 4 bar pop music.
True. We won't say anything more about that. Yep, there is no offense, and we're just going to move right along. Anyway, the next song, the last one we have to share today, oh, go listen to the whole thing. This is also from Adventure Time. This is Island Song or Come Along With Me. We're picking this up just about halfway through. We'll listen to the clip and then we'll let you talk about it. Here we go.
Oh, with you. Maybe by next summer we won't have changed our tune. We'll still.
Oh, go listen to the whole song. It is so fun to listen to. It'll make you instantly happy and just, it's like a musical hug. So go listen to it. Talk about this one.
So, from what I remember in the show, it pretty much designed to be a musical hug, actually. There's a character that's not really explained, that kind of just exists, called the song hole or the music hole or something. And all she does in like the last season is like come up with like one or two songs. And so again, at the very end, this dramatic finale and this and that, and come meet yourself and heavy loss and metamorphosis all around. And at the very end, they're like the main characters, Finn and Jake. They're like, "Hey, Songhole, what are you up to these days?" And she's like, "Oh, I think I finally figured out my next song." And so it's Come Along With Me, which is the whole intro, or I think it's the outro to the entire show, right? But they finally like actually developed it behind the scenes and turned it into like more than just a couple verses. But it's this cute, like again, where it's everything is in its place where it needs to be. It's worked itself out. It's a lot of it's a little bit of wishful thinking where it's in that phrase in particular, maybe my next summer we won't have changed our tunes, but it understands and talks a little bit about growth. It talks a lot about sharing and vulnerability. All of my collections, I'll share them all with you.
Hmm.
I'll be here for you always and always
Yeah.
be with you is really sweet. And it's a really good hug, right? That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's got everything you need. It's not too long, it's not too short.
Yeah.
It's good and it's enough for you to make you feel good and feel positive about what you're doing, about the decisions you've made, and how it's all going to be okay. You just got to go along with them and have a picnic out, and enjoy the water and enjoy nature and all of this cute, these cute little cliches and
Yeah.
everything. But I think in itself, it's just it's well written. The lyrics are cute. The beat's really good. The story behind it, the fact that the song hole just kind of comes up with this. It's adorable and I love it. It's very good feel good song. I like it. I love it.
Yeah. I'm always so um happily surprised when people want to share children's music on this podcast because I feel like in the music community, the broader music community, children's music is the genre that sort of really gets looked down upon. Like if you write or produce children's music, people are like, "Oh, you do children's music?" You know? Like it's not a real thing or it's not very hard or it's not very good. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, you don't understand. It is really, really hard to write great children's music, just like it's hard to write great children's books. And you have to be
Hmm.
really good at your craft in order to write really good children's music that children will enjoy and that as adults we can enjoy too. So I feel like it gets a bad rap. So I love when people bring children's music to the podcast because it's a whole nother level, I feel like, of understanding lyrics and understanding humanity that is sort of like a lot of people don't understand. And the people who can do it and do it well, I feel like are just on another level of genius that I don't have that personally, but I so admire people who can write music like this. So thank you for bringing both of those songs.
I firmly agree with you, right? Where children, they go through a lot and they're constantly developing. And so if you can make such a lasting impression on them, um, I think it's good for their development because it
Mm-hmm.
clearly made a mark on me. And it just also gives that form of nostalgia, I would say. To that, Adventure Time, as of the time of this recording, its 15-year anniversary was yesterday.
Wow.
And sitting here at 24 years old, I
Yeah.
was 9 when it came out,
Yeah.
right, or give or take. And so I watched this. I watched this as a child. I
Yeah.
watched this as a not even double digits. I watched it in the fall, and it continued to grow with me, right? And I grew with the main character as he got older and
Yeah.
figured himself out because he's 12, I think. I think he turns 12 in like the first a couple episodes, and it finishes when he's 17.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm now 7 years older than I was at 17, but you grow along with it. The music grew along with it, and I developed alongside this story. And I'm sure everyone, the next generation has their shows and their music that they listen to and develop alongside with. And I think that's the really neat thing about like what you were talking about, how people look down upon that, but this could be what people got into music for, right? I
Yeah.
didn't find it until the pandemic when it kind of came to a close and I went on this resurgence and renaissance with it. But even then, like I knew the music was good. I knew it was really
Mm-hmm.
funny
Yeah.
because it was nonsensical, which most of it was, right? It was like the bacon pancakes song or whatever, or the everything burrito song or whatever. Like all of that's whimsical and it's silly and it's meant to be designed for a kid. But then when it did touch on serious subjects and it touched on death and nostalgia and grief and time and loss and hard things to come with because there's like parental troubles and such, which,
Mm-hmm.
every kid's going to go through something with their parents. And sometimes they might be unfortunate enough to go through with other things regarding their parents. And so all of that stuck with me. And as I obviously grew and developed listening into music and turning into a musician, all of those emotions stuck with me. All of
Yeah.
the lessons I learned and relearned in the pandemic.
Yeah.
It was good. It left a very memorable and solid, good, lasting impression on me.
Yeah. And I feel like, there are a lot of people who try to make it too complex, too hard. to express feelings and to express those ideas, and those things that children go through can be very complex, but the people who can communicate those in such beautiful, simplistic ways that have that lasting power. I realized, so when I was away last week visiting my child, I was going through the Roku channels. Did you know that there is now a channel where you can watch Mr. Rogers episodes? You can just watch Mr. Rogers.
I've seen it. I have not explored it, but I've seen it. Yes.
I'm going to have to check that out next time because I was like, what? That we like, why aren't we all sitting down watching Mr. Rogers right now? Like, this needs to be piped into some major government institutions right now. How to be friends, how to be kind, how to do all these things, because clearly some of that is missing. But like, and I also heard, I was listening to a podcast, a TED Talk on the drive home yesterday, and it was a woman who was talking about how Bluey, the cartoon, is really just this cultural icon, especially for Australians, but the power of the lessons and the messages, not just for children, but for adults. And, maybe some of us need to get back to watching Mr. Rogers, watching Bluey, watching Adventure Time, or whatever it is that you grew up with, because maybe we need to get back to like remembering and connecting to those very basic things that made our friendships and our families and our world such a really wonderful place.
Wholeheartedly agree. I definitely have. I've watched, I think, the entirety of Bluey 3 times.
Yay!
Definitely can agree. Definitely had to learn some very interesting lessons. The dynamic of the siblings was good. It helped me a lot going and rebuilding my adult relationship with my brother, which for those with siblings, adult siblings are very different animals than childhood siblings. And so it was very good to bury some old beefs and just nonsensical things sometimes and some legitimate things.
Yeah.
And learning how to navigate those waters was very helpful with that. Adventure Time, I jokingly called adventure therapy for a good year or so as I worked my way through that. I mean, it was all really good. Like
Yeah.
again, like you said, you gotta sometimes you need to relearn these lessons.
Yeah.
I know I can think of a handful of moments in Bluey at least, but even Bluey does a great job with connecting a lot of classical music and building on that
Yeah.
with both the emotions it was meant to the original composers intended, and then combining it with new and different feel good feelings and telling all of those stories together. I think no one, I don't think anyone was really prepared for the episode where Bingo dreams of Jupiter and how all of that comes into play with the Jupiter from the whole planet suit and
Oh,
everything.
right. Yes. Okay. Yep.
And the message there with her mom is, I'll always be with you no matter what. And that is such a good moment in that in the entirety of that show. But Bluey does a great job connecting wholesome messages, good messages alongside the good emotions of classical music. So
Yeah.
it's great how it all gets connected like that.
Yeah. Oh, Michael, we could talk for hours, and hopefully we'll connect for dinner offline and talk more. But it is so great to catch up and hear where you are in your journey and in your life. And thank you for your time today. Is there any other advice that you want to, or encouragement that you want to share with anybody who might be watching or listening today?
It always gets better. You might have to make your own better, but you can always make it better. One thing again, another McElroy thing that I've learned is how can you bounce back? If you have such a nasty, you got yelled at a parent for billing, or how if or if you just lose a bunch of students and you're all of a sudden looking financially like it's a little wonky, or again, if you're laid off of a more of a corporate or retail job like what I do, even though it's small business, or if you didn't win the audition, right? Any of combination of those emotions or ones I haven't come up with, um, it's how can you bounce back from that? How can you come back better? Right? You have to keep building. You can either let it, consume you, or
Yeah.
can you keep building? Can you come back? Can you try again next week? Um, I think it's important, obviously, to keep momentum. That's the biggest thing. I've talked a lot about that this
Yeah.
episode, but momentum's a very powerful thing. You can't let things eat at you. And then surround yourself with people that will both tell you how it is and give you good
Mhm.
advice, right? You don't
Yeah.
want you don't have to have a circle of 40 of your best friends, but you also shouldn't be doing it with just the same two people.
Right.
Get a couple of different perspectives and listen to them wholeheartedly, even if you don't agree with them. Maya and I disagree on a lot of things, and she ends up being right because the universe is more often on her side than not mine. But it's important to be able to obviously to listen to that and listen to the
Yeah.
sounds. And at the end of the day, too, if it's not working in any capacity, no matter how many times you've tried one thing over and over and it's not working, it's also okay to walk away for a little bit.
Yeah.
If you need to come back to the drawing board altogether and put everything down, it's all about how can you take from what you learned and apply it to the next week.
Yeah. And I think your life has been such a great example of all of that.
At this point now with a mostly developed frontal lobe, I think I've done okay.
You have done great, great. And I'm just, like I said, so happy to see you happy and just so full of life and joy. And it's just been wonderful to catch up with you here on the podcast. So, continued best wishes for everything that's happening for you in your life. And thanks again for your time today. That does it for this particular episode of Sounds of Encouragement. Remember that I'm here for you so that you can be there for those who need you the most. Reach out to me, Melissa Slocum, at soundoфencouragement@gmail.com if you have any comments, questions, or if you need support of any kind. And don't forget to like and share the podcast with others. Again, Michael, thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for listening. Please click on the show notes to learn more about my guest and to listen to their top songs of encouragement. If you have found value in these podcasts, please share the podcast with those you know, leave a positive review, or support the show at buymeacoffee.com. Sounds of Encouragement is a podcast production of Music Grow LLC, part of growing musicians and teachers everywhere. Sounds of Encouragement is hosted, produced, and edited by Melissa Slocum. To get in touch, contact soundoфencouragement@gmail.com. Theme music by Melissa Slocum and Steve Tressler. Music mixed and mastered by Steve Tressler. Thank you to Steve Tressler and Christina Lopriori, who encouraged me to do this in the first place. And remember, I'm here for you, so you can be there for those who need you the most.